Hello folks, this is Mike. Now if you're like me, you may have landscape timbers in your yard around your flower beds and etc. And if that's the case, you know that over the years they start to weather, turn gray, and worst of all, they rot. And you may have decided you're going to take those out and put in something more attractive, like maybe border stones or maybe concrete border. If you have, this video is devoted to you. I'm going to show you some tips on the best, the quickest, and the most simple way to get them off your flower beds and on the road. So stay with me and I'll show you. First, let me say that if your timbers are put together with screws, you may be able to back out most of them with your cordless drill. If they're nailed together with spikes, it's a whole different ball game. They're going to be harder to remove. Now you may think that the easiest way to dismantle your timbers is just to pry them apart with a crowbar or something. But believe me, this is not easy. They just don't want to come apart. So this takes a lot of effort. The bottom row tends to rot first. If you're trying to pry them apart, that bottom row will just crumble and it'll be impossible to separate them. And you can see that's the problem I'm having right here. Now that brings up another question. How much will you actually be able to salvage? A timber can actually look good on the outside and yet have a rotten core. So I take my crowbar and I wrap on each wood piece from several places, and a solid wrap indicates a good timber. A dull mushy thud indicates rotten wood. This way you can determine how much is actually worth saving. If you plan on putting them on the road anyway, the easiest thing to do is just pry them out of the ground still attached, put a support under them, and then take a reciprocating saw or a chainsaw and just cut them in sections, maybe 6 to 12 feet long. Then you can haul those off and put them on the road and you're done with it. Now do you see what I'm doing wrong? Actually, the board should be slipped up under the other side of the joint for a better support. If your reason for separating them is because you're going to reuse them or repurpose them, well, this is the way I would do that. By far the easiest way to separate the timbers is to simply use a reciprocating saw with a metal cutting blade. Now here I'm using a blade about 4 inches long. I'm going to position the saw in close proximity to the fastener, and then I'm going to press the blade guard up tightly against the wood. And then rotate the blade into the crevice between the wood pieces until you make contact with the fastener. And of course you continue on until you cut straight through the nail of the screw. And then simply go down your timber and cut each fastener out the same way, and they'll pop right apart. To me, this is the fastest and easiest way to do your demo. If the bottom timber is still solid, it will usually be pretty easy to remove. Now, however, rotted wood can be much more difficult. Now here I'm using a timber as my fulcrum and a flat-bladed hoe as my lever. And as you can see, they'll pop right out of the ground, even if they have to come out in pieces. If you need to remove a portion of a timber, you can cut it out with a circular saw or a reciprocating saw. Just make sure you switch from your hacksaw blade to a blade that's actually designed to cut wood. It'll go much faster. Now, if at all possible, pry up the bottom timber to clear the ground before cutting. And that's because ground contact will dull your blades very quickly. I'm using my reciprocating saw here, and you can see that the board is completely clear of the ground. If you can't do that, excavate on each side of the board, and that way you can allow for blade clearance, and you should be okay. An 8-inch or better circular saw will cut all the way through a landscape timber. However, a 7 1/4 inch standard saw will not. So you'll have to cut one side, flip it over, and then cut through from the other side. Still, it's much faster than the reciprocating saw. And one final tip. Now, as timbers age, internal pressures in the wood may cause the nails to pop. Sometimes they'll pop up maybe a 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters above the top. Now, if you are repurposing your wood, you can actually salvage and reuse these nails. Now, normally pulling the nails with a crowbar or whatever will bend them and they become useless. But here I'm using a series of 1x4 and 2x4 shims to allow me to pull the nails up and when we're done, they're going to be straight enough that you can reuse them. Of course, for many of you, this will be too much work, and you may just opt to go spend 50 cents for a new spike. Also, if your nail hasn't popped quite enough to get your crowbar under it, well, you can just take a heavy hammer, or I'm using a 4-pound sledge here, and I'm just going to tap the crowbar and force it up under the nail, and that should lift it. Now, even if you consider yourself to be just a novice homeowner, I hope you can see from watching this video that you can make short work out of landscape timber removal just using simple hand and power tools. And I'm hoping you will be emboldened to tackle just such a project. Now folks, be sure to send me your questions, your suggestions, your comments, whatever. I love getting those and I love answering them, and I will get back with you. Also, we'd appreciate it if you go below and like this video. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you'll be alerted when our new videos come up. And until next time, thanks for watching.